Okay. Yeah, welcome to the seminar, Demoscene Exposed, Macro and Micro Ways Through the Maze. The Demoscene seems to be a huge maze for not only non-scene participants. It is because the scene is conditioned at a variety of levels, from coding and encoding graphics to using algorithms to create music, between an abundance of protocols for compression. Especially for outsiders, this maze of information is really difficult to understand and requires explanation. Particularly old school productions or productions on old school platforms often are perceived as color effects or effect storms or with annoying sounds, let's say. So well, that's the opinion from outsiders. And even though a research through the internet or, let's say, a browsing session end up on YouTube by watching a video with compression artifacts, suffering the loss of attraction too. So to understand the history of the scene, the tradition, the craft, the art, say it however you call it, the scene has to be brought into the right context. So my contribution is to provide a semantic web approach to, as a next generation perspective to the Demoscene. And the aim is to make that huge maze of information more visible, more understandable, and even though more public. With an ontology-based framework, the huge maze of information can be shared, integrated, searched, and even though presented. Within the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes, I'm going to introduce my project. I'm going to say something about the relevance of this topic. I will, of course, we are going to make a travel through the history of VCS technology. And I'm going to present my contribution, my approach, and I hope we will have some time to discuss this idea later on. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm a researcher at University of Applied Sciences in Darmstadt, and my general research is in the areas of digital culture, media archaeology, forensics, and with a direct application reference to digital humanities. One of my projects is MIGA. So MIGA is the project within that research context. And it is the shortcut for Museum of Electronic Games and Art. And as the name said, we have a huge collection of vintage console games and other platforms, computers. Our aim is to make these objects accessible in exhibitions, at exhibitions or on other events. And we are going to make the history, the aesthetics, the social aspects understandable and even though tangible. So the general idea is to link these hardware objects to culture, like to craft, art, to traditions. And this leads to, this approach today to offer a semantic web approach. The statement, unfortunately, slides are cut up a little.
Wenn du nicht Fullscreen machst, vielleicht kann man es dann.
Ich glaube, das ist eher hier. So at exhibitions, conferences, or shall I wait a minute, probably? Okay. We experienced that there is a serious public interest into in demos, in the history, in the technical aspects, the aesthetics as well. So The public interest is also in about the origin of the demos, like the tradition, the history, the craft. But to communicate the genus of a demo, it's really necessary to have context information and additional information to make that huge complex information more understandable. In this context, often a discourse about the history of technology, digital subcultures, audiovisual aesthetics, and also the volatility of our digital cultural heritage arises. So the statement "demos are ours" might be inappropriate against the possible extinction of the scene, and as I think, being in public should not be seen as a danger.
Ja, besser ist. Und dann ein Fenster machst, dann kannst du das Fenster skalieren.
Ja.
Das ist geil. Genau, und jetzt ein bisschen hochskalieren und dann ist es besser als der.
Aber sollte man da nicht auch so einen Startknopf sehen auf der linken Seite? Vielleicht.
Es ist so hoch.
Egal. Geht das jetzt auch? Nee.
Das ist immer noch kein auf. Ja, wir sehen doch jetzt.
Okay. So the problem statement is the scene is changing dramatically. It is not dead yet, but it's obvious that the scene is changing. So Ben Stamnes, alias Gloom, published some scene internal statistics in January 2011. I don't know if anybody of you have seen these statistics, but give the others a short overview. The total number of prods, there is a reduction of the total number of prods of almost 41% between 2001 and 2006. Looking at the categories, there is almost no positive growth in any since 2006. And looking at the platforms, the C64 is undeniable, the most popular one. Looking at the groups behind these releases each year, there is not only a decline in the amount of groups being active at the scene, but also in the community, also fewer prods are being released each year. So last but not least, looking to the activity level on PUENet, there's also a decline of 18% in 2010, just only. So the scene is, of course, changing, and one aspect is the dramatic change due to the technological change. The scene is splitting into enthusiasts using old school platforms and those using new technologies. And more and more web browser, video, streaming music, virtual environments like Java, as competition getting more and more popular. But why? I mean, neither there is a demo for every classic platform available exists yet, nor they have all effects possibly been invented. So are the barriers too high to struggle with unknown platforms, or is there a growing ignorance, or maybe a knowledge loss, or probably people becoming more lazy or just fed up? The need of low-level programming is actually really higher than ever because applications growing bigger and bigger, and it's serious. I mean, speed has always been an issue in the industry, and speed is always matters in the demo scene too. But there are some other hardware characteristics which are relevant. For example, other limitations I will explain later. Well, facts and figures do not promise a bright future, but new people are missing and more prods has to be produced. So Ben Stamnes also suggests to strengthen the PUENet, the online presence. And he is really right, because the web is, of course, the most important platform for communication and also for distributing digital content. So the aim must be not only to allow new people to catch up the history about the Demoscene, but also to allow sceners to strengthen the networking and should be supported, for example, in specific topics, search topics. At least 3 major questions should be answered immediately for outsiders at first, and then, of course, for sceners as well. So one is, what is a demo? Another one is, what role plays the platform for the aesthetic creativity? And another one is, who are the experts in a certain domain? You can always ask Toby, but sometimes Toby is not available. So the answer should lead, of course, to...
You can call me.
Okay. I think the line is running hot now. So the answer should lead to an understanding of the complex relationships and hierarchies between demos and their technological conditions, as well as aesthetic expressions, and as well as structures of creative collaboration. PueNet offers macro views. First, it is essential to understand what a demo is and what all demos have in common while respecting their variations. Usually, the same as on Pue. The information is categorized, so it offers a first overview, but and it helps, of course, people to communicate. But the effectiveness of such a model depends on the degree to which it is successful. Like, as long as enough people interpret the categories the similar way, the model is, of course, successful. But categories simply lack precision. So you will not find any detailed information in this huge maze of information, even though if you have any categories, for example, these categories available on PueNet. For example, you will not find a C64 demo with specific characteristics without browsing through hundreds and thousands of prots, unless or you just know all of them. Or again, you can call Toby. So, there are different types of, excuse me. So what is we see as demo? There are different types of demos. You see some attributing, some attributes, some types, some technical characteristics. But these types correspond, of course, to a subclassification and represent some specific characteristics. But there is no clear hierarchy of classes and subclasses to describe demo productions. There are several definitions of a demo, but the general understanding is a combination of different viewpoints, like technical aspects or aesthetic aspects, or each definition just describes some aspects. So these categories actually function as tags, and of course tagging has a certain organizing character, and it provides an informal organization to a large body of heterogeneous information. But the specific organization always requires explanation and interpretation. More and more people as more and more people provide content, popular tags obtain a wide variety of content, making them less and less useful. So digital objects can be classified on a variety of levels, and we try to do this. So the platform, or let's say the material, the medium, is of particular importance because the material factors certainly influence the design and the creativity. How can someone create a breakthrough digital artwork without knowing or understanding the underlying computing system? So the hardware is the basis of creative computing. there is no software, already Friedrich Kittler said in the 90s. And with his statement, he want to make clear that software sometimes can hide the view of the really important hardware. The VCS is of great relevance, cultural relevance as well. Many games have been published. So it is not only a topic, an object of nostalgia. And it's really tragic that there's just only so few demos published. In total, 39 Atari VCS prods. About 13 groups have been involved. And the first demo was released in 2004. So the VCS is actually a great example of a well-defined platform. And in most cases, the platform also includes some software layers, some programming language environments, operating systems. So for the Atari VCS, cost concerns lead to this remarkable hardware design, which influenced, of course, how was software written, and thus influenced the creativity, the design, the culture, the expression. So the technical context is of particular importance for the understanding of the Demoscene and their artwork too. And the enrichment of demo history with the history of technology offers additional value and allows a better comparability of Demoscene products in general. Okay. So, like other cartridge-based systems, the VCS run programs directly from the ROM without loading them into RAM, and selecting a cartridge interface that had fewer address lines than what was provided by the processor's package. The interface left the system with the ability to address only 4 kilobytes of 8 kilobytes of cartridge ROM. 4 kilo, yes. Yeah, okay, so it's 4 kilobytes of cartridge ROMs. And in good old Demoscene traditions, limitations are seen as a challenge. And also the VCS engineers figured out that the 6507 would be enough for anybody. And a wide range of 2K and 4K games have been published and developed. On PoeNet, there is a demo type category 4K, referring to the storage size limit, 4 kilobytes. But what does 4K mean to non-sceners? In digital cinematography, for example, 4K is the standard display resolution, what refers to a horizontal resolution of 4096 pixels. So also related to storage, today no one has any idea about what 4 kilobytes are.
Yeah, I don't remember the size, but sometimes people compare with the size of an empty Word document.
Yeah, right. An empty Word document, it depends on what version you have, but it's between 80 and 97 kilobytes, so it's really just tiny. Okay, what are the benefits of these specific, what is the benefit of these specific knowledge and about the hardware characteristics, also for outsiders? This knowledge promotes a common understanding and enhances comparability. Based, for example, on memory size, storage being used, number of colors, display specifications, and other hardware specifications or limitations. So, for example, the 6502 processor family drove many computers and consoles like the WIC 20, like the WIC-20, the PET 2001, the Apple I, Apple II, Auric Atmos, NES, BBC Micro, and also the Bender. Yeah. Okay, back to the VCS. The machine wasn't powerful, but a lot was possible because the machine was so simple. And the Atari VCS supported the creation of hundreds and thousands of games which established techniques, game mechanics, aesthetics, genres, mostly imported from the arcade machines, arcade games. Let's say it's not imported, but it's a re-implementation probably, using side-scrolling, vertical scrolling, parallax scrolling, all effects we are using in the demos as well. So let's go a little bit further to the aesthetics. In addition to the technical characterization, it seems reasonable to describe and define the aesthetic elements as well. So there were some other interesting achievements in this context based on the same technology as the VCS. It is the Atari Video Music released in '76. It was far ahead of its time. Computer music visualization became widespread in the '90s. And all of them, and the history reached far back into the '60s. So all of them offer a subset of possible effects. Like the Atari Video Music offers 4 predefined shape mods, the possibility to adjust the horizontal and the vertical display, as well as color and contour. And it produces some psychedelic pixelated video effects. Really nice. We have one with us. Please come and visit us. Generally, in demos, there are predefined linear sequences of effects too. So Marko Roinanen already examined the frequency of occurrence of different effects in specific time periods. A documentation of effects used in demos would promote a common understanding too, based on the aesthetics of demos, and enhances comparability as well. Oh, okay. So,
this would not happen on full screen.
Anyway, this travel into the history of technology and the technical characteristics of a platform contributes to the understanding of the Demoscene. So to communicate the relevant aspects of demos and to spark interest in demo products, the semantic context of our media history must be comprehensible too. So contextualization is a great adventure for everybody who's interested. And there is not only a need to attract new creativity by making demo products better accessible, there is also a need to support networking within the scene. So besides very specific technical and aesthetic topics, also spatial, temporal, social, and also some other loose references can be interesting. And especially the semantic web offers the ability to mesh up heterogeneous information to discover new relationships. The megacore ontology is the base of understanding and integrates entities and relationships of technical metadata vocabulary. So in relation to audiovisual craft and art. As we have seen, the cultural heritage is really rich on semantic associations. There are already a lot of semantic web applications in the web. And to understand our cultural heritage, relevant information must be put into appropriate context and seen as a multidisciplinary environment. Like, you have to link multiple data from multiple sources and from multiple platforms as well. Therefore, the semantic web can help to assemble a knowledge base, providing explanations for others, and mediating multiple viewpoints. So by logical inference mechanisms, explicit and implicit statements about the entities, the hierarchical structures, relations between the entities can be made. And the semantic web also allows to create a data that is more connected, better integrated, and more consistent. Also, for the further processing, that data core can be published as linked open data for further processing, for example, and also can be visualized. Let me give you an example. So, looking for any German VCS coding expert at revision. The situation right now is going to PUENet, and you will, well, you will find some experts for sure. It's just a matter of time, and several questions are needed to answer the major one. So, you go on PUENet, you look for the VCS prods, you can sort them by likes, for example. And these products you see here are probably the best ones, or because they are liked a lot, and in fact they are most popular. Within these 7 prods, you can browse through the groups, but you will not find any expert. So you have to look into the NFO files, and you have to read these files. And these sometimes, just only sometimes, gives you detailed information, but most of the time not. I have to say the Atari VCS community is really well documented, and they have great NFO files. So still, I have no idea who is behind that nickname. And browsing through the user list, I might be able to figure out who are the creators and where are they from. So I still don't know if anybody is participating at revision, but I check out the registered visitors list at revision website, and I can find out that there are some Atari coding experts. Well, as I already said, this search is really time consuming, and I just looked at 7 of these prods. So finally, I could find out that there are some experts, one from Sweden and one from Germany. And this would be, and with semantic web technology, for example, data from multiple sources can be merged easily, and series of search questions can, based on a valid argument, can be combined. So using semantic reasoning, logical consequences can be inferred. And you can just look up for a VCS expert at revision 2013, and you will have one exact hit and another related one, because one is from Germany and the other one is from Sweden. We have another one from Germany here, but he did not publish a demo yet, and it's not within the 7 prods I looked at. Of course, there might be really more. Okay, what is the technology behind? So using some XML-based syntax, well-defined syntax, a set of machine-readable statements can describing the entities and the relationships, for example, of VCS-specific resources. So the result is a domain-specific vocabulary, and let's call it the mega ontology. And this ontology supports reasoning over these entities. So the statement can be grouped to allow interpretations and to infer logical consequences. This example framework merges multiple sources like RevisionNet, PUENet, and GeoNames, which is already also a semantic web application. And the results can be visualized. Results can also be being published, as I already said, as linked open data. Let's come to the conclusion. So the mega ontology provides a set of concepts for the representation of Demoscene crafts and art focused on technical aspects. And this ontology describes platforms, demo groups, creators, group members, the roles of these members, and even though events. In addition, aesthetic aspects found also in games and demos are described too. And using semantic reasoning, it is possible to search for specific, let's say, demo types like intros, invitation, games. You can also search for technical aspects like size, total running time, use tools, and effects. Like effects also. And the state of this research is in actually project teams. We are working on that ontology. We are finalizing this ontology, and we are testing the reasoning. We also look at web harvesting, automatic indexing, and content analysis. All topics we have to look at and we have to find solutions for. And we are open for any kind of partnerships. We would like to appreciate community feedback. And probably we have time now to discuss this approach. And thank you for listening. Again. Are there any questions? I thought you will do some kind of. Yes, I think we should just talk.
Definitely does overlap with some of what we're doing.
Don't worry, no, we will find some non-overlapping.
I'm very glad these seminars are happening on the first day, so we have the whole weekend to
Yeah, great.
Maybe you should do this whole weekend to combine the strengths and come up with something new.
Yes. Okay, great.
How much time is left?
How much time is left? So
All the time in the world.
probably okay, great.
Show a demo.
Show a demo. Later, you have to watch the wild competition.
Maybe we should say something about this. My English is not as good, but when we were working on this year's wild. We were working on this year's wild entry. We had, for example, the problem of having a very limited platform, as always, and we were looking into what effects might be possible. And so we had to look what has been done on equally limited platforms with equally limited RAM and less colors, let's say it like that. And it was not possible to... Thank you. Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, it was not possible to find out what platforms the specific effect had been done for. And even with some knowledge in searching in Google and Poe and other platforms like YouTube, it was not possible to even find that specific effect in any demos. So we had to go through lots of demos, and finally we just figured out how to do it ourselves. But I think with a proper documentation and a web structure like this, it would be possible to say, I am looking for this specific effect, and I want to limit the search by, for example, platforms that have only 1K of RAM or something like that, or monochrome displays. And this would be really helpful to get new platforms.
More attractable.
Yeah, to get demos on new platforms, because you get an idea what is possible and what is not, and maybe you can take a look at the code, do some disassembly, or look into the graphics tiles, and you get a start. And it just was not possible because the web did not provide these search approaches yet, as of today.
So you're actually working on it right now, as far as I understood, or is it just a concept right
This
now?
one?
Yeah.
I work with students on that project. Yes, we developed almost prototype of an ontology, and yeah, we have to advance this core language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, as far as I got it now, it would be a mask where you have to enter a lot of information about your product, right? So this is maybe some kind of tricky. Is this?
Means you have to enter it.
You have to enter a lot of data.
So no, it is not. Obviously, it's nice to have these information ready, but there are possibilities to extract information out of, for example, NFO files, out of also video data, video streams, image analysis. This is all possible.
Okay.
So it's media forensics.
Yeah.
I think that's where my project comes in.
Yeah. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, great. So.
Some things are not possible yet, but will be soon.
In the beginning, you talked about the number of Demoscene productions. But you didn't talk about you only talked about the quantity, you didn't talk about the quality. That would also be an interesting thing, because I could imagine that while the quantity went down, the quality went up, at least partly, or it's an idea, I don't know. It would have to be...
yes, you should answer the question. I will not have any enemies.
Yeah. No. And you know who should answer that question? Ben Stammes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Should
Probably
answer
yes.
that question. Because the charts you're referring to were his charts. They were just an example in here.
Right.
So if you want to know more about that, ask the author of the charts. Gloom.
Yeah, probably it is.
He's not here, obviously,
Yeah.
because he thinks the scene is dying. But no, that's no, because he's at GDC in San Francisco right now. But he will be happy to answer your questions by email. I'll do, and his phone number and everything. Just call me. Just call me. Like
in the
everyone
semantic web,
else.
you can also model some viewpoints concerned to the quality. So, for example, my point of view is another quality experience than yours. And maybe I'm not the car with that likes on Puenet. Probably my most well-liked demo is another one, not under the 7 I just listed. So, yes. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Screen is off.